November, I started teaching an online prosperity class for Unity ministerial students using this book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. Coincidentally, there are no coincidentally, so synchronistically, in November, Unity of Wilmington started studying Edwin Gaines' The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. So since that time, I have been night and day and night, fully immersed in the principles and the practices of prosperity. The one that has caught my attention and has lit my fire, has just rocketed me to the moon and back, is this one, the law of increase. The law of increase is to establish and to maintain an attitude of rich increase toward everything and everybody. Now on the surface, or at face value, that sounds very simple. Well, sure, if I establish and maintain an attitude of rich increase, what I'm really doing is blessing and being grateful. And I bless and I'm grateful for things all the time. But it means everybody and everything. Everybody and everything, for ourselves and for others. So prosperity, one of the definitions of prosperity is an abundance of health. We have the opportunity to practice the law of increase by establishing and maintaining a rich attitude, an attitude of rich increase in our bodies, in every aspect of our bodies. So as we bless the food that we are about to eat, we're participating in the law of increase. As we bless the people we see running down the road or walking down the road doing their exercise, we are participating in the law of increase. As we celebrate somebody else's good health, we are participating in the law of increase, yes?
Yes.
Piece of cake. Prosperity also means an abundance of friendships. So engaging in the practice of the law of increase is establishing and maintaining an attitude of rich increase for all of our friends and beyond. When we have the opportunity to get invited to lunch or to dinner with somebody, we celebrate, we bless those invitations. When we see people, when we're out at the store and we see friends over there laughing and having a good time, we bless and celebrate them. When we go to a restaurant and there's a whole group of people yucking it up, laughing, having fun, we bless them. That's engaging in the law of increase. So every thought we have for ourselves, every thought of joy, every thought of friendship, every thought we have of peace, every thought we have of prosperity and rich, abundant living, every thought benefits other people, but mostly it shifts us into a higher level of consciousness. It helps us turn the tide. Catherine Ponder says it helps us turn the tide of whatever ways we are going in our life to that higher frequency, that higher vibration of being abundance. She says, and it applies to everybody. She tells a story that she herself had happen in her life. She came in contact with a man who was in prison in 1965 in Texas. In the summer. That's important information in this story. Because this man says, what can I do? I'm in jail. I'm stuck here. And then he says, but I could wish good things for other people. I could apply the law of increase to other people. So he did an inventory of his prior week and he said, you know, there was a person in the main office who was kind to me. I'm going to think and apply the law of increase to benefit that person. And he started to imagine that the main office had air conditioning. He thought, with my thoughts, I'm going to imagine people in that main office happy and comfortable. Because if they're happy and comfortable, the world will be a better place. So he visualized, he affirmed, and he gave thanks for the air conditioning that was going to be installed. And then he said, that's not how it works. I'm visualizing, affirming, and giving thanks for the air conditioning that's already there.
Yes.
And don't you know, the air conditioning got installed. And the people in that main office were happy and more comfortable. So the law of increase works in a positive way when we apply it that way. But we're either engaging in that positive law of increase or the negative law of decrease. At any time, we're doing one or the other, because the law is going to work, increase or decrease. Prosperity can be defined as an abundance of wealth. So when we engage in the law of increase, by establishing and maintaining an attitude of rich increase for our finances and the finances of others, we are ratcheting up the vibration of the planet. But something happens sometimes when we engage in this, because we get this little disconnect. And we get what I call the whoosh effect, like whoosh. All these thoughts from collective consciousness begin to permeate my mind. Thoughts of lack, limitation, thoughts of judgment and envy. And we as a culture respond differently when people have success with finances. Have you heard of the tall poppy syndrome? That one flower that sticks up. So one person has an amazing day and the rest of us go, let's just cut her off at the knees. She's having an amazing day and we're not. That's kind of what the tall poppy syndrome. Have you ever had a coworker or a friend have a big achievement in their life? Maybe they got a promotion. Maybe they just had some success with the lottery or something. And instead of saying, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, you say, oh, they were just so lucky. And you dismiss it. We even do it with the stock market. Let's say the stock market goes up 150 points in one day. What do we say? We don't go, fabulous, the economy's picking up, this is great. We say, it won't last. It'll self-correct. So I think that when it comes in particular to our abundance, our prosperity with our finances, there seems to be a gap between what is, those thoughts and behaviors that are reinforcing what is, and that dream that we either have or used to have. You know, when we were little kids, we all had dreams. I don't know what yours look like exactly. I'm going to ask you in a minute. But when I was little, we used to play this button game, and we used to go, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. And I just thought it was horribly unfair if you wanted to be an astronaut or a firefighter or a dancer, because you weren't on the button list. Now, I asked Nikki, I said, did you guys play that in Arkansas? Because that's what we played in Hawaii. And she said, well, we did it with jump ropes. So, you know, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. So what did you want to do? What did you want to do when you grew up? What was your dream? Veterinarian. Teacher. Cowgirl. Oh, yeah, well, that's you, Jody. Well, we all wanted to be something, right? And somewhere, sometimes, but not in every case, we've lost pieces or parts of that dream. I want to tell you a story that's a true story about Jean Harper, who in 1959 was in the 3rd grade. And her 3rd grade teacher gave an assignment to the entire class. And she said, your assignment, your homework is to go home and write down what your dreams are for what you want to be when you grow up. Now, Jean's father was a crop duster. And Jean had a great fascination for flying machines, for airplanes. She just loved them. And she knew that her dream when she grew up was to be a pilot. And not only to be a pilot, but to jump out of planes with parachutes and to be like that episode she saw on Sky King, to fly up there and seed the clouds so that they would rain. And she wanted to be a pilot. So she poured out in this assignment, she poured out her dreams just like a 3rd grader with all her passion and all her enthusiasm. This is what I want to do when I grow up, da, 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 and she turned it in. She felt so happy and she felt so good. And the next day the teacher gave them all their assignments back, and on Jean's was a big fat F in red. And the words, impossible.
Oh, dear.
You have written a fairy tale. Girls, don't become pilots. Jean took that paper home. She showed her dad. And her father said, that teacher does not know what she's talking about.
Amen.
Think about Amelia Earhart. But year after year in school, Jean's dreams were ridiculed. She was made fun of. So that by the time she got out of middle school, she decided her dreams weren't worth paying attention to at all. And I want to take this moment to ask you to tune into your own life. It may have been different words, a different dream, a different time in your life, but have you had a time where you felt like you weren't loved or supported for your dreams? So now let's fast forward to Jean's in high school. She's a senior in high school. She has an English teacher, and the English teacher gives an assignment. And the assignment is answer this one question. Write a paper answering this one question. What will you be doing 10 years from now? Well, Jean went home and she looked at the blank piece of paper and she said, I'm not even going to try to put down pilot because there's no hope for that. She said, I'm not even going to put down flight attendant because I'm not pretty enough. And I'm not going to put down wife because who would want me? And so she went through the list of occupations that she could think of that were safe and that nobody could argue about. And she wrote down waitress. All the students turned in their papers. 2 weeks went by and the teacher came in. All the class was sitting there and she took each paper to everybody's desk, putting them face down on the desk in front of each student. And she says, now I'm going to ask you a different question. And the question I'm going to ask you is this. If you had unlimited finances and had access to any school or training program on the planet, and you had unlimited, limitless ability and talent, what would you do? And write that down. So guess what bubbled up in Jean? From deep, deep down below, and she thought it was dead, but it was just dormant. Her dream started bubbling up, and she said, if I had unlimited resources, if I could have access to any training or education on the planet, and if I had limitless talent and ability, and she began to write, she said, I would be a pilot. I would jump out of planes. I would seed clouds for rain. I would be that pilot. I would be a crop duster. I would be a pilot. I would just be flying planes. So she wrote it all down. Then the teacher, when all the students had finished writing, asked this question. How many of you wrote the same thing on the back of your paper that you wrote on the front of your paper? Not one student raised their hand. Then the teacher took the time to look each student in the eye. She went around to every single student, making that eye contact. And she said, let me tell you something about yourself. You do have limitless talent and ability. You do have access to all the training and education that you need. And if you want that dream bad enough, you do have access to unlimited finances. It's up to you. This is it. You're going to graduate from school. You're going to leave here. And if you don't start living your dream, who will? If you want it, it will be yours. Amazing. Well, it won't surprise you to know that it wasn't long after that Jean became a crop duster, that she made hundreds of jumps with parachutes out of airplanes, that she spent a summer as a weather pilot, meteorologist. I'm not pulling the name, but anyway, that kind of pilot that went and flew and seeded clouds for rain. But the rest of it was a little more difficult because each step of the way she was met either by reluctant skepticism or outright obnoxious behavior. You're a woman in a man's world. What are you doing? What are you doing? But eventually she got a job flying air freight as a co-pilot. And then she got a job with a commuter airlines as a co-pilot. And in 1978, Jean Harper was in the first group of women hired by United Airlines for female pilots training. And Jean became not a co-pilot, but a captain of a Boeing 737. It's a true story. So let me demonstrate or go back and show how the law of increase worked for Jean. Every time that she began to doubt herself, she established and maintained an attitude of rich increase for herself. I can do this. My teacher believes in me. Have you ever had somebody believe in you who said, I'm going to hold that vision for you until you can hold the vision for yourself? I'm going to hold that dream for you until you can find it inside you to get the wherewithal to live that dream yourself? She said, I have that teacher who believes in me. I have a father who believes in me. I believe in me. I believe in Amelia Earhart. And that's the inward practice of the law of increase. But there's the outward practice of the law of increase. There's wishing the best for everyone else. It's easy when things are going well to say, yes, I wish you the best. Yes, I wish you the finest health. Yes, I wish you the greatest friendships. Yes, I wish you this. It's easy to do it that way. But when somebody is criticizing, condemning, or complaining about you, or gossiping about you, that's when the law of increase is even more important. So for every person who gave her a hard time, she returned and responded with words of kindness. For every colleague and cohort that got promoted above and before her, she celebrated that promotion or hire. She answered her circumstances with the law of increase, wishing the best for herself and the best for other people. Catherine Ponder says this in the book, so powerful. Do not waste time holding grudges, even toward those who have treated you unjustly. You will meet people along the way as you rise toward success. Others who are not making the grade will try to hold you down to their mediocre level, but they can't if you refuse to be bothered by what they say or do. Nobody can keep your success and prosperity from you but yourself. Before Louise Hay became the queen of affirmations, Catherine Ponder was the queen of affirmations. And I suppose in a world that's as big as ours, and with the law of increase, there can be two queens of affirmations. Louise's are nice and succinct, and Catherine Ponder's are very long. But they're very good. So we're going to say them one sentence at a time, all together. I am now experiencing perfect health, abundant prosperity, and complete and utter happiness. Oh, take a breath. This is true because the world is full of kind people who now lovingly help me in every way. Yes. I am now living a delightful, interesting, and satisfying life of the most widely useful kind. Because of my own increased health, wealth, and happiness, I am now able to help others live a delightful, interesting, and satisfying life of the most widely useful kind. Holding the vision. My good, our good, is universal. See what I mean? It's really good, but it's really long. If you wanted to take a picture of it, there it is all together. There it is all together, but we're going to say it one more time. I am now experiencing perfect health, abundant prosperity, and complete and utter happiness. This is true because the world is full of kind people who now lovingly help me in every way. I am now living a delightful, interesting, and satisfying life of the most widely useful kind. Because of my own increased health, wealth, and happiness, I am now able to help others live a delightful, interesting, and satisfying life of the most widely useful kind. My good, and it is. My good, our good, is universal. There is nothing private about good. If it's good for me, it's good for everybody. If it's good for you, it's good for everybody. Choosing the highest and best thoughts for ourselves, using the law of increase, it changes everything. It changes the way we forgive people. Why would we forgive them? We're wishing the highest and best for them. I hope they're happy. I hope they're successful. I hope this just rocks their world in miraculous ways. Whew. I am happy. I am prosperous. I hope this rocks my world in the most miraculous ways. My good, our good, is universal. I'm going to invite Reverend Nikki to come up and Lisa to play. We're going to sing our way into meditation with God is, I am.